Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the December 10th meeting of the Newcastle Town Board. The board has been in executive session. May I have a motion to open the work session?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, well, this is our last meeting of this year of 2024, so I just want to wish everyone happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa. And I had the good fortune of hearing our county executive last night talking about the holidays, and I will steal a page from him and wish everyone a happy Festivus as well. And just so you know, Daniel O'Keefe was a resident of Chappaqua. Larry, thank you. And he went to Horace Greeley High School, so it was very appropriate to say happy Festivus. So happy holidays, everybody. I would like to announce a couple of things. We still have the holiday food drive sponsored by the Chappaqua Fire Department, and they're still accepting various items through December 15th. There are drop-off locations at the Chappaqua Firehouse on King Street, at the Center Street Firehouse, and at Town Hall, so please do consider donating. And I want to remind everyone that our LGBTQ committee is having a Cocoa and Crafts event on Sunday, December 15th from 3 to 4:30 at the Chappaqua Library. There was a story exchange by the Committee on Inclusion and Belonging that had been set for December 9th, but because not enough people signed up, it will be postponed to January, and those dates will be published soon. That's it for now. So let's start with the first topic, which is a request for additional funds to complete scanning services.
Right.
Jill, do you wanna introduce that?
Sure. So the board had been supportive of our efforts to scan additional building department files. We had originally allocated $60,000 for the project. Unfortunately, we were only able to scan 52 out of 73 boxes. So Sabrina would like to be able to complete the project. It requires another $24,000. Rob has approved this insofar as he's located funds in the 2024 budget to be able to polish this project off. So we'd be asking the board for permission to be able to extend the project and allocate another $24,000 to finish it. The next is a request for the removal from the Sawmill Sewer District. We have significant properties in our town who pay Sawmill Sewers district taxes but are on septic. And through the course of the year, or over several years, the county does have a reimbursement process, but it's a couple $100 and it actually doesn't cover the cost of, it doesn't fully reimburse for the price tag on the taxes. There is an opportunity under certain circumstances for people to be removed from the sewer district if it turns out that there really is no way that they're ever going to be connected. This is an instance where someone is located in an area that we will be unable to connect them in the future. There are certain criteria that the county has set forth. Specifically, they need to be on at least an acre of property, they need to not have any history of septic failures, and they need to be more than X amount of feet away from an existing sewer line. This is a property that meets that qualification. Evidently, a neighboring property was granted removal from the Sawmill Sewer District a number of years ago, and the property owner has come to us requesting it. We would set forth a resolution and a petition to Virat Gashi's office with Westchester County in support of it, and it would be ultimately the county's decision as to whether or not they grant removal or not removal from the district. It's the county's district. So we haven't seen it in a while, but we used to get these all the time. And actually, years ago, the Wagon Road Camp requested removal from the district, and that's how the county figured out that they were supposed to connect them. And thus the sewer trunk line project that's gonna be going up 120. Any questions on this? It's a little bit off our beaten path. We don't usually see it very much anymore.
Do you have an idea of how many properties might still qualify that we haven't heard from yet?
I don't. I don't. You know, the county is serious in their commitment to extend the sewer district, so we do have a sewer project coming down the pike that will extend the sewer up 120 to the Wagon Road Camp. It is anticipated that in the future, once the immediate properties to that sewer trunk line are connected, that there will be an opportunity for there to be local sewer districts that are created alongside of it, so that more and more properties will be captured in the district, because ultimately they do wanna connect as many properties as they can to the sewer district, so
And this is only in cases that it's just never going to be possible.
because of the location of it.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to ask how exactly is that feasibility calculated? Is it the distance that you mentioned?
Part
You
of
know,
it,
the likelihood that a property would never be able to connect?
The county has spent significant time actually diagramming potential local sewer districts that would come off 120, the sewer trunk line on 120 and some other properties. So they're really in the best position to be able to make that determination, and ultimately it's theirs. But there are sketch maps that exist. So it's not like, somebody who's like 2 doors down or something like that.
Right, and it should be no problem in the future if for any reason that were found to be wrong and you have a future owner or even the current owner who decides that they do wanna connect, if that opportunity should arise, if we should be so lucky to have sewers to that extent,
I don't know that they're,
it would probably be easy for them to be returned back to,
I don't know that that's the case.
so then they would never be able to. Really, I'm surprised that would be written in stone, that someone could never reverse that and come back onto the tax rolls.
I don't think the county has ever made a promise that they
Interesting,
would that they
okay.
would return someone.
Okay, because that's just more revenue.
Right, and you would think to yourself that, well, I'm not joining it now, so I'll go out and so I don't have to pay it, or supporting the efforts to improve the sewer district going forward, and in the future when they come down my street, I'll just jump in. I don't think that's the thinking behind it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
I hate to say that Bob Cioli would be a good resource, but Bob Cioli's probably a good resource. Catch him while he's still here.
alright, okay.
The next is the proposed changes to the property maintenance law. The board has in front of it some modest changes that were made to section 93-2. Subsection C and I guess D as well, right, Leo?
That's correct.
Do you
But
wanna-
we're just looking at section C today, we discussed the changes to section D.
You know,
So,
both,
Lino, do you
so
wanna-
the board was provided with a draft that changed both C and D. This was, I guess, a little while ago. So if you're satisfied with this version of the draft that I provided to you, and this was done in working with Dennis Corelli and also Tom DiPoli with respect to this language, you're free to schedule a public hearing for the January meeting as to this draft.
Right, I think the board was concerned because the conservation board had significant changes to D.
Which again, you're gonna schedule a public hearing, so to the extent that we wanna discuss those changes at that public hearing when it comes time to discuss the local law, the board is free to do that. The other option is you can have me go back and redraft this, working with Tom and Dennis to do that, but again, you have a current version of this law that you are more than able to schedule a public hearing on this draft this evening.
Right, and I just spoke to the chair of the conservation board and we established that they would come on the whenever we do schedule the public hearing and we would discuss their proposed changes. But for now, what we're looking at and the change that you made, Lino, correct me if I'm wrong, is simply a clarification of the purpose of the law, which is to ensure safe passage to occupants, emergency medical services, police and fire personnel.
Correct.
So that's
That
the
was the
latest
gist.
change to clarify the
That's right.
purpose.
And the other minor change that we made was in D, just respect to the types of plants that can be grown around that 15-foot perimeter that we discussed. And again, primarily the thing had to do with safety, because if you have a window that's used for ingress or egress or a doorway, the prior version that was on the books of chapter 93 did not have a provision where you had to maintain those areas free and clear so that fire and police can get in case of an emergency. So what this particular law does, it establishes that perimeter, and then if there are any ingress, egress ways of entry by window or door, it should be clear. And then the next section, D, talks about what's recommended with respect to those areas, or in the curtilage, we call it, 15 feet from the structure.
Right, and then it pretty much excludes pollinator and native gardens, which was what the concern was for, in this revision. So okay, so we'll hear from the conservation board at the public hearing. Is that something that we should set right now, or should we do that
It's on our consent
it's
agenda.
on the consent agenda for later?
Right, so it would be for January 28th of 2024.
Okay. Alright. Jill, do you wanna talk about the burn ban or?
Yeah, so there's just some question, I know that the chiefs of both Millwood and Chappaqua have requested an extension of the burn ban through December 31st, but we were under the impression that there was an executive order.
There was
And did it
It was
expire?
through November 30th.
Yeah, I thought it expired at the end of November, if I recall. Again, off the top of my head, I don't remember that, but I do
Yeah,
recall November
November,
date.
okay, alright, then in light of the fact, of course, we're expecting heavy rains for tomorrow, but be that as it may, the fire departments have requested an extension of the burn ban through December 31st of this year. And can we do that by resolution or just?
You can do that by resolution, because it's not on our local on the book, so you can pass it by resolution, that's okay.
Okay, so Lauren, would you be able to add a resolution for us on that? Yeah, sorry about that, we had a little bit of confusion staff-wise as to whether or not the executive order was still in effect or not.
Yeah, if
whether
that
or not
expired,
we
then you
could-
would have to extend on our own by resolution.
Yeah, this would be our local ban.
Right.
And the fire chief sent us a US drought monitor showing that our area is under severe drought, and that's about in the middle range, ranging from none to abnormally dry, moderate drought, severe drought, extreme drought, exceptional drought, and then no data. So we're right in the middle in severe drought, and although it's been raining and it feels pretty wet out there now, obviously the weather forecast will have a lot of dry spells as well. So I am definitely inclined to take the advice of our fire chiefs
Okay, great.
and extend ours. Although ours expired, so this would be another ban. Okay.
Okay.
And then we've got a bevy of administrative items to go through. Please let me know if there's any questions on any of these. We've got retroactive payment of claims for checks dated December 3rd and also December 5th, 2024. We've got the resolution in support of the Newcastle project selections for the use of the NYSERDA grant allocations that we discussed in detail last week. We've got authorization to approve the 2025 preliminary budget with amendments to the non-union salary schedule. We've got authorization to approve the end of year budget adjustments. Authorization to award the bid for DPW for the purchase of the waste wash water transfer pump. Authorization to award contract for the bid for anthracite and the sand filter media. Authorization to purchase sludge removal and recycling services from the Millwood Water Treatment Plant. Authorization to utilize Omnia Partners in connection with roofing products and services down at DPW. It's for the replacement of the metal roof. authorization to share with CCSD Painting Services bid for Town Hall with HG Painting. Authorization to release cash bond agreement and accept the cash bond agreement from Sunshine Children's Home. Authorization to approve a letter of intent, that's to Westchester County Hazard Mitigation Plan. Once again, the county is going to be the lead agency for all municipalities in Westchester County, for those who decide to opt in for a required mitigation plan, a hazard mitigation plan. We've got authorization to accept the proposal for coach bus services for ski trips, finally. We have an approval of the 2025 Northeast Special Recreation Agreement, the 2025 Ricky Systems Agreement with the police, authorization to establish a capital project and budget for Amsterdam Carriage House, the building and the sanitary sewer improvement project, authorization to establish a capital project and budget for the carriage house and the upper multi-purpose room, electric heat system purchase and installation. We're accepting vehicle auction results down at DPW. We're asking the board to authorize the supervisor to sign a letter of support to the SPCA. They'd like to go for a grant and they're asking for our support. And last, authorization to set a public hearing on honorary street naming Mr. Lang's Way, and that would be for January 14th of 2024. Does the board have any questions on any of those projects? That concludes the work session.
Okay, very good. I just wanna say that the authorization to set a public hearing for Mr. Lang's Way was a result of our new process for street naming, honorary street namings, and we had Gray Williams, our town historian, look over the application, and we received his report, so we're able to set the public hearing for that. Okay, so I think we're ready to adjourn the work session. May I have a motion to adjourn the work session and open up the town board meeting?
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So Jill, do you have any announcements? I'll hold off my supervisor's report to the town newsletter.
I don't, thank you.
You don't? Okay. So we will get to public comment at this time. Anyone who, this is not for the public hearing, so anyone who has public comments for general matters, please feel free to come to the microphone and identify yourselves. Okay, seeing that there's no one in person, is there anyone online for public comment? No? Okay. Lauren, no one's online? Okay, so we will move to the public hearing. So may I have a motion to open the public hearing on eminent domain proceedings for 220-230 Joan Corwin Way?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so before we take comments, Lino, would you like to start us off?
Sure. So just by way of background, what we have on tonight is a public hearing on the public purpose of acquiring a piece of property, which is known as 220-230 Joan Corwin Way. This is a property that, just by way of background, about 3 years ago in 2021, the town had started the eminent domain process for this property. And the purpose of that property and the acquisition at the time was for the town to acquire a portion of that property for a DPW highway facilities expansion and improvement project. Basically, your current DPW facilities are basically inadequate for storage and maintenance of DPW vehicles, which are out in the elements, and for when those vehicles are out there for a certain period of time, they do have wear and tear, and those are expensive machinery that are out there in the elements, so we want them covered. So part of the public purpose was to acquire that property so that DPW and maintenance can get a new garage. And we have Bart here that's on, I guess, the the meeting virtually
We see him.
to discuss and just to give a brief overview of the public purpose, but just let me again state that in 2021, this board started the process. The reason why we're doing it again is because we didn't conclude it, in that 3-year process. So in 2024, I dealt, and I see one of the attorneys is here this evening with respect to the property owner. We engaged in discussions again to possibly acquire this without the eminent domain process. There was a back and forth, we'll get into that. But basically, because that process that we started in 2021 never concluded as to the eminent domain process, we never filed what happens is you go through this, you determine a public purpose, that is to get published in the paper. We have to send an offer letter, do an appraisal for the property, offer that value to the property owner, and that property owner has the ability to accept the offer letter, the number that is based on our appraiser, reject it, or accept as a partial payment. Once that happens, then you can file what's called your eminent domain proceeding, and that gets filed in Supreme Court, Westchester County. That's for the acquisition, it's his acquisition and evaluation of that property in case the property owner disputes what that value is. So we never got to that point back in 2023 or early 24. We never got to the point where we actually filed an eminent domain petition. So again, I'm not gonna get into the reasons why, but it never got there. So the process that you had started back in 2021 basically became stale after 3 years. So that's why we're here today, and we're gonna start the process anew. So that being said, I'm gonna turn it over just to Bart. Bart went through this exercise in 2021. I believe it was January, so we're close to when we started this process. So I'll have Bart just go through a brief overview of the public purpose. Again, I kind of stated it, why we need to do this. So I'll have Bart just briefly explain the need for why we're looking at this property for eminent domain. So Bart?
Thank you, Lena. That was a great summary. Just to get into a little bit more detail, so the existing DPW facility was built in the 1950s. There was an addition onto the building in the late 1980s. One of the big limitations that we have is the original section from the 1950s. The height of the garage doors is only 10 foot 6 inches. So for years we've been custom ordering trucks so that they would fit inside of there. We're at the point now that we cannot order a truck that will fit inside of there. So we recently ordered a Western Star dump truck, and it's going to be a couple inches too high. We know that. So if we don't have a place where that truck can go inside, it's outside in the elements. And that slows down the response time during storms because the trucks have central hydraulics. And in the cold weather, it takes a while for those to warm up. Also, we have to come in, we have to clear the snow off of the trucks, which all of this adds time to getting the trucks out onto the road during a storm. A couple weeks ago, we had a snow event that turned out to be much more significant than initially anticipated. So, when everybody gets called in, we have to clean all the trucks off and get them all the windows cleared and everything before they're even ready to go. These are very expensive trucks. And just looking through the report from, I think it was January 2021, I was just going through it, so we're almost on 4 years, but the cost of these trucks since then have gone up dramatically. So we used to pay $250,000 for one of these trucks, and now we're at $315,000. Another truck that we just ordered, the back truck that's essential for our clean catch basins and our MS4 compliance, that truck, we issued a purchase order for I think around $615,000. When we were in the selection process for that truck, we went to probably about half a dozen communities around us to see what type of truck they have and to evaluate what one would be best for us. All of the communities that we visited stored that piece of equipment inside. We do not have the capability to do that for this truck when it arrives at our current situation. Again, so the trucks are very expensive, and keeping them outside definitely impacts our response time, and it leads to rapid deterioration of the equipment and directly contributes to higher maintenance costs. Depending on the weather and what the temperature is, when a storm ends, sometimes we can wash the trucks and sometimes we can't. If it's gonna go below freezing, we have to hold off on washing the trucks because then they're just gonna sit outside and they'll be, coated in ice. So sometimes we have to wait several days before we can wash them after a storm. And that's even with our wash bay, which was installed with the special purpose of capturing all the salt and grit that comes off of the trucks. And so we anticipate that if we were able to store more of these trucks inside, that we could extend the life of these trucks by 2 to 3 years. So there's definitely financial impacts to this as well. And that about sums it up. If there's any other questions, please let me know.
No, thank you, Bart, that was a good summary. Does anyone have any questions for Bart?
So just by way of process, what I would recommend, we're gonna have this, I guess, the public hearing tonight, but I'm gonna recommend that the board keep that open, because again, Bart he did the report back in 2021, we're gonna resubmit it to the board and to the public so they get to see it. Again, it was dated 2021, but we're gonna have to refresh it and submit it to the board, so we're gonna ask that this public hearing be continued tonight to the next meeting. What would that next meeting date be, Jill?
The 14th.
The 14th, so it'll be January 14th. But again, there are folks here this evening, so if there are no further questions by the board, I would again at this point entertain any public comment at this point with respect to the public purpose.
So Lino, the public hearing will be held open in its entirety to the 14th?
Yes, in its
or-
entirety, both, yes, correct, not just for written comment, but just in its entirety, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, at this time.
And Bart will be back in January, sorry Bart.
Okay, good. Alright, thank you. So at this time, I'd like to invite anyone with public comment to please come up and introduce yourself and state your place of residence and welcome.
Good evening, Catherine Zelantis from Silverberg Zelantis LLC, and my firm represents the estate of Grace Mazzucchelli, who's the owner of 22-2230 Joan Corin Way. We submitted a letter to this board in advance of the public hearing. So as you heard, we've been here before. This process first started back in January of 2021, and this town's attempt to restart the eminent domain proceeding is really an egregious abuse of municipal power. And it's an improper attempt to devalue my client's property in violation of their property rights. The town's first attempt was legally abandoned in June of 2024. So between that period of time, that 3-year period of time from June 2021 to June 2024, my client was precluded from selling the property. My client was precluded from entering into any long-term leases for the property. And even after the proceeding was deemed legally abandoned, the town interfered with my client's attempt to sell the property, as it advised potential buyers that the town intended to recommence eminent domain proceedings. So here we are again, and you heard from your attorney, Mr. Sciarretta, and it's true, we did have conversations in 2024 about the town potentially buying the property without the need to go through the eminent domain process. But that was 2 years after my client rejected the town's offer to purchase the property, or the town's eminent domain offer of $862,600. So my client was not required to accept the eminent domain offer, but the town was legally required to pay that initial offer. And then the parties would then come to either some resolution as to what just compensation should be, but all the while my client would have $862,000 in his pocket. So when discussions were ongoing with Mr. Sciarretta, that was 2 years after my client rejected the town's eminent domain offer. My client should have had that $862,000 in his pocket while the parties continued to come to a resolution or go to court and litigate what just compensation is, because the $862,000 were not even close to just compensation. But the town did not play fair, the town did not follow the New York statutory requirements, and if the town can do that to my client, it can do that to any town property owner. So the town cannot just use its municipal authority to devalue a property or render it valueless for its private own financial benefit, and that's exactly what's going on here. We heard this stated public purpose of expanding the DPW facility. Wouldn't it make more sense and wouldn't it be a savings to taxpayers if the town used its own property rather than trying to purchase commercially expensive property? Just compensation is not just paying what a property comps out to be, like you would normally do for a purchase or sale. It entails paying the highest and best value for a property. My client's property is commercially zoned, and buyers pay a premium for commercial property in this area because it's so scarce. So to value the property, the town has created this fiction that there's actually 2 lots. There isn't. This is one property, but the town wants to chop up the property and take a portion of the property that has the greatest frontage in order to devalue the property. But when you're looking at the highest and best value of the property, you have to look at the entire property, not just a portion of the property. And how the public purpose is allegedly served, how is that served by taking only a portion of the property? I heard you need space to store large trucks. What is the purpose then of only taking a portion of a property if that is the town's stated purpose? Really, the game is you wanna chop up the property, take a portion of it now, wait a few years, and then potentially come back and take the rest of it. And by that purpose, you will effectively have devalued the property. And that violates my client's constitutionally protected rights because the town cannot use the threat of eminent domain to justify not paying just compensation. I also would like to make the position known that taking a portion of the property does not serve the town's stated public purpose of expanding its DPW facility. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? No, is there anyone online? No?
No hands are raised.
Okay,
So may I address some of those comments,
yes.
Madam Chair and members of the board? So a couple of things. Number one, the picture that's painted by the attorney and the owner is really not the full state and full facts. So let me just make that very clear. First of all, the property owner, and again, going back, was offered significantly more than what the appraised value of this property was worth in trying to resolve this matter. Again, I don't wanna go into it because there was no need to, but if the property owner raised it, I'm gonna get into it. So the town offered significantly more to resolve this matter than what that property was worth, okay? We went through that. We also, again, council's not an appraiser, so I don't wanna be lectured on what the value is or what's not or what's the proper piece. That's for the appraisers to figure out. And in terms of her comments that this is an egregious, okay, again, I take exception to all of that because they're aware, we never filed a notice of pendency. Yes, we put this on for a public hearing back in 2021, but we never filed an action or proceeding for eminent domain, okay? It didn't happen. I've yet to see something from the property owner or the estate or council where, again, they accepted the number that was raised of $862,000. I haven't seen it, and if council's willing to provide me with an acceptance of that value, we'll gladly pay that as a partial payment towards the value. I haven't seen that. So for council to state that position and lecture this board on that, again, I take exception to that. I also have an issue with respect to that we interfered with this property. This was discussed 3 years ago, and the public purpose that is being presented this evening is a completely legit public purpose. As a matter of fact, there are many municipalities, and I've done them in Westchester, where we had to do DPW facilities that are completely legitimate public purpose for this. So to say that we're devaluing her property, again, this is for the appraisers to determine, and we as a municipality only can acquire what we need, no more, no less. And what was proposed back then and now is exactly what we are requiring for what we need for our DPW and maintenance facility. And you heard from Bart, it's antiquated and it's basically past its useful life. That's why we need to do this. So yes, I know she has to make her self-serving statements and make the record because that's what she has to do. But I will tell you that we've done everything, and again, to the extent that she wants to accept the partial payment, we will do that. And to the extent that counsel and her client wants to resolve this in a way that's not part of eminent domain, we're open to do that. What's not in Ms. Lantis's letter of December 9, 2024, is she talks about 2021, she doesn't talk about the conversations that we've had back and forth in 2024 in trying to resolve this. So again, it paints half a picture, so again, I take exception to some of the comments that were made this evening, and I just want the board to be aware of that, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lino. At this time, I'd like to ask for a motion to continue
Can I
the
just-
public is this?
You can
Okay.
entertain.
I wanna
Yes.
clarify for the record, there were conversations in 2024. My point was the advance payment should have been paid in 2022 when the offer was rejected. I heard Mr. Sharetta say he'd never seen that. Perhaps he doesn't have the file because he wasn't the attorney at the time. But there were 2 letters specifically rejecting the offer. And my point being is that when we were negotiating, my client should have been negotiating with money in his pocket already, and that's a requirement under the eminent domain proceeding law. And the town failed to comply with its statutory obligation.
And again, I'll just to quickly reiterate, there's 3 options, they can accept the payment, reject it, or accept as a partial payment. Unless I've seen something where her client has accepted that as a partial payment, again, if counsel wants to revisit that with me, happy to do that, I'm not saying that we're not gonna do that, but I haven't seen it, and as Mr. Lantis stated, I was not attorney of record back then, but I'm glad she acknowledged that, yes, we did have conversations in 2024, which this letter does not reference, and it goes back, again, a couple of years ago. With respect to some of the statements that were made. So again, if there is something, again, she said they rejected the offer, but I don't hear anything that they rejected or accepted a partial payment of what was being offered. Those are 3 distinct options under the EPL, so I just want the board to be aware of that.
I'll
Thank
provide
you,
those,
Lino.
I'll
I
just-
think
I'll
we're
provide
going,
those
I
letters
think
saying
we
that they
can-
were rejecting and we respectfully request the payment as advance payment. I've said it twice in writing, I'll provide those letters yet again.
Thank you.
I see someone else coming up for
Yeah.
public comment.
My name is Joe
Me too.
Tavalacci, and I've been
Me
living in town for
Joe.
40 some odd years.
Start again because no one heard you, you weren't at the microphone, it's for the people who are listening, so, yes.
So my name is Joe Tavalacci. I own properties in Chappaqua, commercial properties. I'm a builder. I think that building, the existing building, should be taken down and a new building should be put up. Or they can modify that building and they could build another new building at the end of that building or someplace else on the property. But to take and buy that building and to take that off the tax rolls, I think it's a waste. Because you're gonna be putting money into that building. You're gonna have to do a subdivision, you have to do engineering, you have to do surveying, and you're just taking money away from the town by doing that, when they could build a beautiful new building on the existing property. And that's my opinion.
Okay, thank
Okay?
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else for public comment? No, okay, so at this time, Lino?
Yes, I'll just take a motion to continue this public hearing to the January 14th town board meeting.
May I have such a motion?
So moved.
A second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so this public hearing shall continue on January 14th. Okay, thank you. Jill, do you wanna go over the items on the consent agenda? And then the proposed actions afterwards?
So on our consent agenda items, we got the resolution in support of the town of Newcastle project selection for use in the SERTA grant applications, the authorization to approve the end of year budget adjustments, authorization to award the bid for waste wash water pump, authorization to award the contract for DPW the purchase of anthracite and the sand filter media, authorization to purchase sludge removal and recycling services for the Millwood Water Treatment Plant, the authorization to utilize the Omnia Partners contract for roofing products and services, that's to replace the metal roof at DPW. Authorization to share the CCSD painting services bid for Town Hall. Authorization to release the cash bond and accept a cash bond agreement for Sunshine's Children's Home. Authorization to approve that letter of intent for Westchester County Hazard Mitigation Plan. Authorization to accept the proposal for coach bus services for the ski trip. Authorization to approve the 2025 Northeast Special Recreation Agreement as well as 2025 rookie system for the police. Authorization to establish a capital budget and project and budget for Amsterdam Carriage House Building and Sanitary Sewer Improvement Project, and the authorization to establish a capital project and budget for the Amsterdam Carriage House Upper Multi-Purpose Room with electric heating system, the purchase and its installation.
I just wanna say, Jill, that this will help our campers.
Tremendously, we are
Okay, for
so
Camp
excited
Adventure,
about
this
this
has been a big topic for people, and so that will provide us with indoor space and bathrooms.
Real bathrooms.
And the garden center will be able to use it.
Yeah, the garden
As well.
club was thrilled.
They're
They
excited
used
about that.
our lower room for their wreaths and they were so thrilled, heat
Yeah.
especially, yeah. It's gonna be fabulous.
So we are improving our access to camp
Yeah,
camp
as best we
programs
can.
as we said we would.
And rec programs in general.
Yes,
Yes.
another location for our rec programs, yeah.
It's really exciting.
Let's see, we got vehicle auction results from DPW. Authorization for the supervisor to sign a letter of support, that's for the SPCA, they're going for a grant. Authorization to set the public hearing on a proposed local law amending chapter 93, the property maintenance law, and that would be for January 28th, 2025. And authorization to set the public hearing on the honorary street naming Mr. Lang's Way, that's for January 14th.
We have our
Then
proposed
we have
actions.
then we've got our regular resolutions. Yeah, Lauren, so number 10 is to authorization to extend the burn ban, but we also want to appoint the community liaison. So however you guys wanna number things. Burn ban can be number 11, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
So, Joe, I was taking a look at something else, so we have,
So
do
we have two number
things in
10s.
order? Okay, so,
Burn ban should be 13 then?
No, so
Number 11.
so go to number 8, authorization to appoint the ethics board, and then we can go to the new sheet for number 9, which has the 2 members of the conservation board. And then
so that'll be 13.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so 9, the new 9 can replace the old 9,
Yes,
and then the new 10 will become 13 after
I see what
after
you're saying,
the
yes.
committee resignation.
yes,
Just getting rid of 9.
We're just getting rid of the old 9, but replacing it with the new 9.
yes, we are, okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
okay, are we ready for the resolutions?
Yes, you got it, yep.
Jill, do you have anything else for us?
No, that's it.
Okay, Holly, do you wanna start us off?
Sure. I move to adopt the items 1 through 18 as listed in the consent agenda.
So moved.
All in all in favor?
Aye.
I move to
Been
retroactively
doing this for a while.
approve the payment of claims in the amount of $84,380.10 listed on the summary AP check register and detail voucher detail reports dated December 3rd, 2024. Checks were printed and distributed to each claimant listed on Tuesday, December 3rd, 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
I move to retroactively approve the payment of claims in the amount of $602,145.27 listed on the summary AP check register and detail voucher detail reports dated December 5th, 2024. Checks were printed and distributed to each claimant listed on Thursday, December 5th, 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I move to authorize the hiring of Matthew preliminaries for the position of labor within the Department of Public Works Highway Unit at the annual salary of $51,246.97 effective December 18th, 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ally?
I move to authorize the hiring of Ronnie Rodriguez Nunez to the position of fourth grade police officer within the Newcastle Police Department at the annual salary of $82,340.52 effective January 27th, 2024, or the date Westchester County approves the resignation reinstatement.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Welcome, Ronnie.
I move to authorize the hiring of the following individuals listed below for the position of recreation attendant within the Recreation and Parks Department to serve as ski trip chaperones at the corresponding rates listed below effective December 18th, 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do you want me to do that one too?
Yeah.
Okay. I move to adopt the 2025 preliminary budget with amendments to non-union salary schedule. Resolve the Newcastle Town Board hereby adopts the preliminary budget and salary schedule amended as per attached as the final budget for the fiscal year 2025. And be it further resolved that the 2025, should I just go to the bottom? Do I have to read it all?
I would read it all
Well, yeah,
because it's the budget.
It's the budget, and I've never seen a budget approved with such little fanfare elsewhere. But yeah, this is our budget approval, so
Okay.
let's read everything.
Further resolved that the 2025 final budget for the general highway funds set forth a total tax levy of $17,651,923. And be it further resolved that the 2025 final budget for the solid waste district renews the annual dwelling unit charge of $667.85 per residential unit. And be it further resolved that with regard to the condominium complexes with adequate refuse storage capacity as determined by the Commissioner of Public Works, the 2025 final budget for the solid waste district renews the annual dwelling unit charge of $667.85 per condominium residential unit for those condominiums, which will remain or change to once a week collection. And be it further resolved that with regard to the condominium complexes with limited refuse storage capacity as determined by the Commissioner of Public Works, the 2025 final budget for the solid waste district renews the annual dwelling unit charge of $400.71 per condominium residential unit for those condominiums, which will remain at twice a week collection.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you,
move-
Ally. Sure.
I move to authorize a payout of 3 vacation days for non-union staff to the following individuals as listed below for a total payout amount of $16,513.15.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I move to authorize the appointment of Alan Sash as a member of the Ethics Board for a 3-year term effective December 11th, 2024. Actually, since I'm going to recuse myself,
You shouldn't
let
be
me
reading
not,
that,
let me not.
I'll do it. Should I
Thank
do
you,
it now?
Yes, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I move to authorize the appointment of Alan Sash as member of the Ethics Board for a 3-year term effective December 11th, 2024 through December 31st, 2027.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 9, which is I move to authorize the appointment of Marie Bolster and Michelle Lee as members of the Conservation Board for two-year terms effective December 3rd, 2024, December 31st, 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Jen, you can do the remainder.
Okay, I move to authorize the appointment of Elgin Cruz to serve as the Town of Newcastle Community Liaison for a term of 2 years effective January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I move to accept the resignation from Sherry Tamalonis, thank you Sherry, from the position of member of the Arts and Culture Committee effective December 4th, 2024. The town would like to thank Sherry for her service.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I move to accept the resignation of Randa Sauerborn, thank you Randa, from the position of member of the Committee for Inclusion and Belonging effective December 6th, 2024. The town would like to thank Randa for her service.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I move to authorize the supervisor to extend the burn ban in the town of Newcastle through December 31st, 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I move to adjourn.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Hold on.
What is,
We don't need to do that resolution. I think it's in
Sure,
the
is it on the
consent
consent?
agenda. Yeah,
Jen, do you
one
wanna-
second.
tell us what your,
It's the
NYSERDA.
NYSERDA,
You're
yeah, it's
seeing?
the first one from
Yeah, we
NYSERDA.
got it, number one.
Yeah, and then
Oh, we
wait,
it's in the
the,
consent agenda, okay.
Sorry, I missed
the-
that.
That's okay.
Move to
No,
adjourn.
Never-
the resolution.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Wait, what's
Second.
Just the petition on the sewer, is that to remove the sewer district.
Was that one, did it
sample.
not
No,
make
it's-
it onto the consent agenda?
It is. When I look at, yeah, it's I thought I just saw it. Hold on.
I don't see it.
something about the sewer, but it wasn't that.
Water treatment. No, it's not, okay, it's
I
not.
didn't make it on, yeah.
It's
Yeah, we had a lot, we had a lot
sanitary
of
sewer improvement
resolutions.
projects, but it's not the sewer removal, yeah,
Yeah,
different
I
sewer.
think that was why we missed that, okay.
I believe Bob did prepare a resolution in the packet.
Right.
Okay.
Let me just find the page.
I think it's page 7. Yeah, there it is. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, it's page 7, if we just we approve the following resolution, just the result.
do we have to withdraw the motions to adjourn?
You didn't second
You
it.
did second, so it didn't.
I did.
So should I move to withdraw the motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Yes.
So I have to second that?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Can someone read this resolution? I would do it, but it's authorizing me, so
I move to the supervisor be hereby authorized to execute the following petition listed below to the County of Westchester to remove from the Sawmill Sewer District the 280 Douglas Road, Chappaqua, New York property also identified as section 100.6 block 2 lot 2 as shown on the Newcastle tax maps.
That's it.
So moved.
Second.
Second, no, gee, really, this is
I
really
threw
way to
you
end the
off.
year, right?
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
you know, I'm trying not to say anything, so
Okay.
I apologize,
you
Madam Supervisor.
second,
Second.
good, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good.
Now can we have a motion to adjourn?
Yes,
Landing.
please.
May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.